Good morning, everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining us for our free Thursday webinar. I'm Nikki Jovicic from Lookupstrata, and I'm also the Managing Director of Tower Body Corporate, and I'm your host. Jake Sharp from MiMOR and Laura Toplis from Cadogan Facilities Management has joined us today to explain the role of the building manager and how building management technology can enhance our communities. As we know, lot owners deserve a well-maintained, efficient building with a strong sense of community. Today's session will explore how technology can help achieve this goal. Building managers face the daily challenge of juggling numerous tasks and responsibilities. Management software offers a solution by streamlining their operations, saving time and improving communication. These innovative tools can simplify caretaker operations, leading to faster maintenance response times and enhancing overall building operations. And this in turn results in a better living experience for all residents. Furthermore, management software fosters open communication, informing residents about building news, events, and important updates. And this transparency builds trust and confidence among residents and the building management team. A well-run complex with efficient processes contributes to more enjoyable living experience for all residents. By optimising operations and improving communication, management software can help create a positive and harmonious community. Now, this is a national session today, so with inclusivity in mind, we are aware that terminology changes across Australia. If we're talking about committees, that's also known as the Strata Council or Council of Owners. And if we mention the Owners Corporation, we're talking about the Body Corporate or the Strata Company, depending on your state. Before we begin, I'd like to mention that the information in this session, including the discussions arising from submitted questions and chat conversations, is not advice, and you should not be relied upon as advice, and you should seek independent advice before acting on the information contained in the session. We welcome back Jake Sharp, founder and director of MiMOR. While managing a large cleaning business, Jake noticed a communication gap between residents, committees and managers. Buildings with full-time managers had support, but smaller ones faced confusion. Strata managers and building managers were often overwhelmed with calls and emails from residents. And to foster harmony, Jake created MiMOR, a simple yet effective software solution. Jake now drives MiMOR's evolution, seeking collaborations to modernise property management. And we also welcome Laura Toplis, owner of EK Property and Cadogan Facilities Management in Auckland, New Zealand. So with a passion for building management and property services, Laura established a strong presence in the industry. Previously, Laura spent 5 years in London, gaining experience in a construction company specialising in restoring historic and listed buildings. So this unique background equipped her with a keen eye for detail and commitment to preserve the integrity of modern and heritage properties. Today, Laura leads a team with a focus on delivering top-tier building management services, ensuring the highest standards of care and professionalism. Now, here at Lookupstrata, we do take our transparency responsibilities seriously regarding partnerships, so we'd like to let you know that MiMOR is a long-time sponsor of Lookupstrata. And we welcome Jake and Laura. Thanks so much for joining us today.
I am based in Auckland and I own and operate a building management company here. So I'm just going to go through a couple of slides about the role of a building manager and what that involves. So the building manager is running the day-to-day operations of the building. So they are usually the person on the ground, making sure everything is happening smoothly. They're a point of contact between the body corporate, the committee, residents, contracts, and service providers. So it's important to have a scope of duties and a separation of duties between the building manager and the body corporate manager or the OC manager. So the building manager is responsible for maintenance coordination. So in our system, we have the reactive tasks that come up. We have planned preventative maintenance and also the BWOF tasks. So the BWOF, the building warrant of fitness, is the compliance and safety side, ensuring that the building meets the council requirements, which are checked annually. We are also responsible for building security, which usually is access control, and involves giving out access cards to people who need new access cards, checking security CCTV, and also in some buildings liaising with security contractors, physical security guards. It's also our role to deal with resident communication. So if you don't have software to deal directly with residents, then usually we would draft a communication that would be sent to the body corporate manager and they would distribute it to all owners. But in that case, there's often a gap because the information doesn't necessarily reach the tenants who are living in the building. What does a building manager do? So as I mentioned, it's important that you have a scope of duties because every building will require something different. But in general, they will perform routine inspections. Sometimes this will be daily, sometimes it will be once a week, depending on the size of your building and your requirements. They'll also deal with contractor management. So we can recommend contractors that we use regularly, or we can use contractors that are preferred suppliers of the committee or incumbent suppliers to the building. In terms of emergency response, it's an interesting one. We would usually recommend, if it's a true emergency, to call 111 or in Australia 000, because the building manager, if they're, for example, visiting the building once a week, they won't always be on call, but they should be notified of the issue as well. And if it was a leak, we would get to the source of it as soon as possible and work with contractors and tenants or owners to resolve the issue.
With the routine inspections, your daily tasks, your weekly tasks, currently, I mean, or even previously, was that just with a piece of paper walking around, ticking boxes?
So that would be a walkthrough of the building, usually with a notebook in hand, making note of anything that you come across that you might want to address with a contractor. So it could be something you've noticed that's broken or some cleaning that's not been completed properly. From the administrative perspective, there is reporting. So we will provide regular reports to a body corporate committee to meet their meeting cycle usually. On a really big building where there are a lot of things happening, we would do a weekly report, and that would include a commentary on the issue, a link to a quote, or in some cases 3 quotes were requested, and then if the item was approved and was carried out, then a link to the invoice at the end. And so these are linked to the committee schedule. So some people would want a monthly report, some would want weekly, others quarterly, and then there'll be an overarching report for the AGM, which would be less detailed and more general themes of what's been happening over the year in the building. Keeping accurate record keeping is really important for the building warrant of fitness, particularly. So we use a compliance consultant, but we need to make sure that the contractors are attending when they were supposed to attend. It might be a little bit different in New Zealand and Australia, but if a contractor hasn't been servicing as per the mandated schedule, then that can impact your building warrant of fitness, and you would get a building report and declaration instead. Event coordination is something that we have found using the software helpful for. So, for example, fire inspections, where you have to enter every apartment to check the fire alarms or the sprinklers. That's something you would need to notify the residents of so that they can expect somebody to enter their living space.
Regarding the regular checking of common areas, is that more for just a block of units? I'm in a community with villas and I don't know of any regular checks being done unless someone reports something.
Yeah, so that's what I was talking about, the scope of duties. It depends what your building manager is contracted to do. I would expect if there were common areas that the building manager was looking after, that they would inspect them, because they would need to know if it was gardens, for example. When you say villas, I'm thinking of townhouses. So usually that's limited in terms of the common areas. If there's no lobby as such, if everybody has their own entranceway, then really they'd only be looking after the gate and the outdoor areas.
Okay, so maybe refer back to your scope of works or to the building manager's scope of works and see what they're contracted to actually do in the building and in the complex.
Mm-hmm.
There's technology out there to help people like Laura run her buildings and her company, no matter the size and age of the building, because reports still need to be given to a 7-lot or a 5-lotter. And as Nikki, you just said, whether it's a little bit of common area, even if it's just a little bit of garden maintenance, I think communication, visibility with technology and these tools can actually help with any size or age building. We'll go on from what Laura's just said and to sort of like see what technologies can solve. So obviously, one of the main aspects in life is communication. And so I think if we can embrace technology, and it can be all different types of technology, you don't have to have one software system that does, everything, or that it's too expensive for a small lot, but just some type of technology that would fit your particular building, because then you can solve things like communication, real-time instant notification, sort of like what we were sort of discussing with Laura, is when there's an emergency. The old way of doing it was either getting a letter printed and putting it around the building, or sending it, as Laura said, to the owners corporation, who will then send it to the owners, who will then send it to either the tenants living in the building. Now, when there's an emergency, we've become used to having our phones on us and in real-time instant SMS and emails, especially when it's an emergency. So technology is solving that, and that can be done, obviously, real-time email, SMS, and then obviously we've got it with technology and software systems. You can have a register of current people living in the building, which would help Laura, because Laura may only deal with owners for certain buildings, but then obviously some buildings you have tenants. So the days are gone of that, tenants weren't part of the building, or owners corporation or strata only dealt with the owners, but things happen every day. So tenants are really important. So to have a real register of people living in the building, or as close we can to 100%, then it just helps running your building. Obviously, the notice board that used to live, front of the building or wherever it is, we could now, with software and technology, you can have a digital notice board. So rather than you don't want to give your email SMS, there might be something where you could go and have a look at a notice board. There are programs out there, and all of this, obviously, your building becomes more efficient. It saves time, frustration. As we know, communication is one of the most important aspects from a building management to its residents. So that was sort of like the communication aspect. I guess a technology and software, you can have a central online hub for all the building information, tasks, building files, and resident details. So as Laura was saying, the daily task inspections and maintenance logs, some buildings require a lot of work, some obviously don't, but as Nikki said, we want to know that particular building, it could be 10 townhouses, who's responsible for, the little lawn out the front or the tree, and then when does it get done? So to have technology that can, get the cleaner to tick off, and they might only be there every month, but just something that they can tick off, and it can then, is visible for all the owners to see when they were there. So, then there's obviously accountability and visibility of the people, the caretaker, the cleaner, the gardener, and that's sort of what technology is sort of fixing. Buildings general information, also it's a good place now to store certain information for residents, rather than a tenant, let's just say, trying to call their real estate agent to see what they need to do for additional key fob swipes, and causing Laura to do more work, when it'd be great if it was just in one online hub that all residents go to find all that information. And Laura then can obviously be a better building manager, caretaker. And obviously some buildings that don't have it, or the caretaker's only there once a week, all this should be available for residents by embracing the technology or software that you decide to use. With that, you can also house the building files. So it could be architectural drawings, manuals, contracts, trade warranty, insurances, all of that information. So that, all the residents can see this information if applicable. If not, then it could just be for Laura. So she is up to date with all the trades that turn up to site, that the insurances and all of that are up to date. You can also, obviously, we spoke about that, a resident register. So, if she needs to communicate, it can be done by a click of a button instead of, emails or trying to find who lives in that particular apartment, sending a letter, putting a letter in the letterbox. She could go to a log on the technology or software she's using and see which resident is there and then quickly just send an email, SMS. And then obviously with technology, you can do reports, and that's also really important. Reports of all the residents living there, if they need, on a yearly basis, and an email, SMS history, so we know, what emails, SMSs have gone out, any issues that have arisen over the year, you can always go back on it, and all the daily tasks. So that's sort of what a central online hub would help. Issues at the building, obviously we've just sort of discussed that, but that technology is sort of fixing that. So, who can report the issue? So a lot of problems happen with Laura's buildings and just buildings in general. And gone are the days, as I was saying previously, that tenants aren't involved. But if I'm a tenant, I'm coming home and I'm living in an apartment and there's water gushing out of the lobby with the ceiling, well, as a tenant, shouldn't I be responsible to report that issue? And if I've got technology, a software that I could just click a button, take a picture and send it, and we know that I'm the tenant and I've sent it, then Laura knows what's going on, who reported it, they can get onto it straight away rather than, oh, no, but I'm an owner, I've got to call my real estate agent to let them know that there's water gushing out of the lobby at 7:30 p.m. on a Friday. So I think with technology, we're going to sort of bring everyone together so everyone's part of the building and we can get onto issues really quickly. So reporting an issue obviously can be done through management, the caretaker, building manager, or now a resident. And obviously that's we've got traceability and accountability of who's reporting the issue. Multiple people can report the same issues, or only one can report it. So we're not having multiple people reporting the same issue. So if it's a cleaning issue, you might have multiple people reporting because it could be different issues. Or if it's a lift is out of service or there's no hot water, if one person's already reported it, then the whole building should know about it, that you don't have to keep reporting it. And then obviously that saves Laura and caretakers and building managers a lot of time, rather than, even after they've called the plumber, they're still getting 50 people saying, oh, there's no hot water. And then obviously, once it's been reported, again, with technology and software, you can send an email, SMS to the whole building so everyone knows what's going on. We've got a workflow of each issue. We know, where who's getting connected to it. You could have technology that sends out an instant work order, obviously, depending on what system you're using, but that can also save a lot of time. So the idea with technology is that we automate issues at a building, which has never really been done before. And I understand that there's processes at every building and, but that's where workflow. So you can create issues that when someone reports the issue, it goes directly to the caretaker and building manager like Laura, and then she can deal with whatever she needs to do. Or you could have workflows that the garage door issue always goes to the garage door company. The lift issue only goes to the lift company, and Laura or the caretaker or the strata manager only oversees what's going on because we know who reported it, whether they're an owner, residing, a tenant, and if we need to step in, we step in.
How does the system work when you have a committee assisting on multiple quotes and viewing the issue before allowing work orders to be sent out?
Yeah, so I guess, again, that's up to the building how they want to do it. So the work order doesn't have to go out automatically. So you could set it up in the workflow that there is no work order. It only goes to one of the chairperson or committee members or strata manager, and no one does anything. And then 3 quotes need to come through, and then it can be tailored depending on what issue you want and how you want that issue to be done.
So it's just a way of making sure that everything's tended to and follows the process.
Technology is automating the moving process or common area bookings. So that takes a lot of time. Laura has to deal with a lot of phone calls, emails. When people are moving in, they want to book the common area. A lot of the time was, you have to have your diary open. Yeah, no, it's not available. No one can see what's going on. So I think automating the whole process saves the resident time, the building management time, and really it should just be all in 2024 and beyond. It should just be automated. You want to move into the building. These are the times that are available. You book it. automated email goes to yourself, the cleaner, the caretaker, the lift blankets, if required, go up because, you know, they know that someone's moving in. No one needs to call or email anyone anymore. You know, if someone books a common area, you know, Laura doesn't have to get involved. She knows that the cleaner has been connected to the common area booking. It was booked last night and used last night. The cleaner knows that their first point of contact is cleaning the common area. That's how the buildings really should run with embracing technology. You know, so visibility, rules, procedures, and processes, it's all part of the booking of the common area. No more, you know, letters and stuff in the room before you go in. You should know what the rules are and procedures before you actually book it. And then you confirm that. You know, if there's a payment system, there might be holding a bond or a fee to use the system. We see that in a few systems, and or even a form that they need to fill out, but it should be all online. Here's a form, you know, to move into the building, you need to upload the removalist insurance indemnity form, or you need to fill out this form. Please return it or fill it out and, you know, click enter and then move on to the book the common area.
We've been asked a few questions about people who aren't digital natives and they don't understand technology, or they don't use technology and they're not used to using it and they're finding it hard to adopt it. Laura, is that something that you would get involved in as a building manager if you introduce systems like that? Would you become sort of the trainer for that area, or?
Yeah, so one of my building managers, for example, he was the classic notebook guy, and most of it was in his head, and then he's become the biggest user of the new software system. And what we've noticed is that a lot of things were getting missed, little things that would niggle at owners, but in the scheme of a building manager, when you've got 100 things to think about, you know, the less important ones would drop to the bottom of your mental to-do list. So having a physical online to-do list with dates against it has been really helpful for us. We can sort everything by dates and we can work through every single item to make sure that it has been covered. Even if it was less important, it might not be given the same urgency, but it does get covered eventually and not forgotten about.
Parcels that are getting delivered, there are now solutions out there, you know, technology and stuff that are solving the issue of parcels going missing, you know, whether you don't have a caretaker or a building manager and you can afford to put a parcel locker. You know, you might be a building of 20 and you can have a parcel locker of 10 or 5 that can get dropped there that's safer. You get an SMS and email. You might have a building manager and caretaker that takes the parcel for you, but instead of them having to send an SMS through their phone, they can just go onto a system and click email, SMS, one or the other or both, to the resident. Your parcel's waiting for collection, you know, in the lobby or in the office. So sort of that's helping a lot of parcel issues at buildings, whether they're a larger building or a smaller building. And it's also making it easier for couriers. They've got systems now, and lockers are solving a lot of issues. So yeah, that sort of technology is really moving forward. And then obviously what we sort of, Laura did discuss it with keys, fobs, remotes, you know, tracking, register, ordering new ones. That is a big issue at a lot of buildings, but with technology, and you can actually have a register. So we know actually who's got the fobs, who's ordering new ones, as opposed to not knowing. And then whether it's a system you want to use for yourself and not through the back of you know, your strata companies, then no matter if you move, you'll always have that for yourself, for your building, which is really important. Or you integrate with that back of house system, which is important as well. You know, there are new things, digital fobs are coming out. So you can, you know, a lot of apps is saying you have your key, you can have your physical fob, but you can also, we can integrate with that security system or that fob system and have your digital fob on your app. And who knows, in 5 years, maybe, you know, people are starting to use their digital fob on their app more than their physical fobs, except for the, you know, the 5% or 10%. And then your building becomes a lot safer. And we know those 5 residents, you know, that might be, you know, not good with tech, as we said, and they want to use their physical fobs, that's fine. But at least we know that more people are using digital fobs. You know, fire extinguishers, defibrillators, any of the building assets, when are they being serviced? There's systems out there that you can put little products on them that if they're moved, Laura will get notified or the building manager will get notified. Are they being touched or are they actually being serviced? So there are systems that give you alerts. Even like the little product that goes in pump rooms, that if there's a flood in there and it goes over a certain level, it hits this product and then it notifies and says, oh, hang on, there's a flood in the room. This technology is amazing because it's then saving the building a lot of time and money. We know they got onto it straight away, and that's by alerting them. There's electric bollards technology out there now that's solving a lot of issues with visitor spots. Embracing with the software that it can be integrated, so you can have a booking system and electric bollards, and then there's digital screens as well. So if people aren't tech savvy and they don't check their email and phone, there are obviously companies out there that do digital screens in your lobbies, and then Laura can then send an email or SMS, an urgent one, to the whole building, as well as sending it to the digital screen that's in the lobby. So, there could be 3 different ports of communication.
Excellent. Thanks, Jake. That was great. We had a couple of questions around who actually would own a system like that, whether it would be the building or the body corporate or owners corporation themselves, or whether it would be the strata manager. And if it did come from the strata manager, what happens when you change strata management?
Yeah, so I guess front of house software and technology is very different to the way we used to have it. Is that a lot of the strata systems were part of the company you were using. So if you did change, that went with them and you have to have the new one. This is more, it belongs to the building. And front of house software systems should always be really towards, the owners at the building, so that you can change as many times as you want, but the running of your building and the technology stays with your building and that you are paying for it. So that lives with you for the next 30 years or 50 years. That's how we see front of house systems and technology. I mean, they might only use a WhatsApp group for communication. Let's just say they don't have a lot of money and they just want to chat to everyone and you've got to opt in and whatever. The WhatsApp is yours. It's free, obviously, but it could be something like Trello or Slack or Monday.com. I mean, Laura was using Monday.com. We actually integrated with Monday.com, so it talks to both. And that could be the same thing. If the building only wants to use something that, Google G Suite, Google to store all the files and quotes, that's the building. They pay for it and that lives with them.
People are discussing sort of where you find out about systems that give all of these benefits. I mean, MiMOR, obviously, because you're here talking with us today, is one of those systems, and you communicate with lots of other systems out there and integrate them into the MiMOR system. There are quite a few different packages that are available. We do have Lookupstrata has a directory, and if you go into the Lookupstrata directory, you can have a look at the options that are available there, and that might give you some ideas as well. But otherwise, have a talk to Jake and he might be able to suggest some things for you. There's been a few questions about things like cost. I think you'd be best if you have questions like that, you're best to speak to Jake or to speak to the service providers that are providing those systems to find out what you need for your particular building. While I appreciate the premise of technology making things work better and faster with response times, as the chair for the strata, the biggest impediment I face is this type of software is getting residents, and more specifically the building managers, using it because of their aversion to using technology. So this was something that we've spoken about quickly, and it was mentioned during the chat. Our own building manager is an ex-construction builder. We are extremely lucky to have him, as he's very well suited to his role and understands how our high-rise works and was built, especially if an issue arises. However, computers and phones are not his forte. My question is, how do we get over this?
If you've got an accountant, right, and your accountant is very good at what they do, but they use Excel spreadsheets. And 99% of everyone else are using MyOb and Xero. Your choice is to either stay with that person or embrace the new way of doing things, either with that person and try to sit down with them and help. And I know, myself and other of our software, we're here to help them. We're here to sit down with them, provide them videos and user guides and assist them to, even if it's just to send an email and SMS, if that's all that they need to do and learn, then a lot of that, the software wants to help them.
If you really like this building manager and you want to keep working with them, but you want to use some software, kind of get them involved in the process, help them to look at the different options. I imagine in that case, it would be something that the body corporate committee would subscribe to. You'd pay the subscription and you just emphasize the efficiency gains for the building manager, how it's going to reduce his paperwork load, support him, and offer training and support as well. So if you are good at technology, maybe you could sit down and help them to get it all set up and populated, so he's not just looking at some blank software that he's got no idea how to use. And also start small. So what's the biggest pain point, what that you really want to cover, and start with that. Like it might be reporting issues or following through with all the different issues, creating an online to-do list. So just think about starting small, what's going to help him the most and what your pain points are that you're trying to address, and then just build up from there once he's on board.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, we had one from New South Wales. Any ideas on how to address accountability, as we never see our building manager? Despite a substantial yearly pay, how can we monitor their hours or if they even turn up?
There are software and technology out there that I think, as we were saying, that you can have a daily list or weekly list, and that they actually have to tick it off, but not even just tick it off. They might have to then take a picture, before and after, which is time-stamped, and then send it through. So there are stuff like that, but again, depending on how many software systems you want to use, or if they can integrate with each other, or even just a WhatsApp, because it's time-stamped. They're part of the building group. You have all the list of all the committee or whoever you want. The cleaner or caretaker is part of that. They take a picture when they're on site, when they fix something, and it's time-stamped and everyone can see and everyone's happy with that. Just little things like that, I think we need to embrace, and it doesn't have to be a whole complicated thing.
To start with, it's important to remember that sometimes you might not see them. We come during the day. A lot of people are out at work. And also to be kind as well. So accusing someone of not showing up, you could check CCTV, and quite often actually they have been there, but perhaps you haven't seen them. If you wanted to be really strict, you could introduce a digital check-in system. There would be any type of software that you could use for that. We use task management software like MiMOR and Monday.com, so we can see that the tasks are being ticked off and completed. But you could do regular reporting requirements, so get them to send in a weekly report or a monthly report showing what they've done, linking to the contractor quotes and the work that's been completed. And we talked earlier about scope of duties and KPIs. So I think both parties need to be really clear. So for example, if you're paying a rate that only really covers one visit a week, then you're upset that you haven't seen them every day, then there's a mismatch in the scope of duties there. So I think it's important to clarify that as well.
And I guess some of this software could also help the building manager as well, because it gets them to, or it helps them to show the work that they're doing to the people in the building. So it provides them with some backup for the job that they're doing, and might build a bit of that community and trust as well for them.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great you can export Monday.com a whole list of all the hundreds of thousands of items that you've done. And if you've been accused of not showing up, then it's quite a good defence.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. Okay, we had a question from Queensland just asking about installing QR codes at the entrance to buildings.
So it was for QR codes of trades turning up to site. There are quite a few different systems out there that do QR codes, that the trade has to come to site, scan the QR code. They're all different ones that they have to register, and then they scan the QR code. It's a hard one. Scanning your QR code, coming on site. I know that, yes, I think that they should, and it is part of maybe their job. The owners want to know when they're on site, and so that they can confirm with their invoice that, hang on, they're on site, they scan the QR code at 8 o'clock, etc. But I think also there are software and technology that can actually remove the QR code and have either digital key safes, so we know when they are opening the key safe rather than mechanical, or if their building has a security and fob system and a sliding front door or electric door, that they can actually get issued digital fobs, and the digital fob is sent to the trade, so we know exactly when they're opening the front door and garage door. So there's a trace. They don't need to register. They don't need to scan the QR code. The management or the strata manager can send them their digital fob for that particular day, 9 till 5 or 9 till 3 or 24/7 if they're authorized trade. And so every time they click it, there's a register of when they're on site, rather than using a QR code to register. So there's that sort of way, I think, that we're going more towards than QR codes.
Okay, would you agree with that, Laura?
Yes, I think QR codes in our buildings, we do get limited compliance with them. I think everybody's pretty much over them after COVID. So I've seen the digital screens. If you're a bigger building, there's a little iPad-like screen that you could sit on the front desk and everybody can sign in through that. I think that would be, you'd have more compliance with it. Or like Jake said, if your building has a digital fob system, then you get 100% compliance with that, because they can't access the building without using it.
I was at a exhibition in Sydney the other week, and facial recognition. Now, you don't need to change your whole intercom system, but you can put something next to the intercom system that is connected to the front door, and it could be something really small, but it's facial recognition. And so all that needs to happen is the trade needs to send a selfie to the management company. They upload the selfie in the building, in the software system, and therefore it's just the trade just comes in facial recognition. And that's what we love seeing that's happening at the moment with technology.
Yeah, that's pretty techy.
Yep.
I'm not sure if your tech can assist, but we have a real bureaucracy problem around caretaker quoting for BC works, obtaining committee approval in advance for spend, and then connecting the approval to the resultant invoice that arrives sometime when we're trying to track it. We'll currently do all of this via a massive email trail, and it gets very messy and time consuming to manage when you are just talking about hundreds of individual jobs and invoices each year. It needs to be a systemized process with audit trails that can easily be searched and checked, making the whole body corporate purchasing process more streamlined and efficient. And I would also like to say probably more transparent as well. Our Strata manager uses Strata accounting software, but our body corporate manager says that it can't solve this problem. And this is the body corporate treasurer in Queensland that's asking this question. I think a lot of our people on the call today have probably experienced something like this. So how could you help, Jake, or how could technology help?
Yeah, so I think when it comes to all of that, it is quite complicated, and there are a lot of little hurdles to get over, but technology is solving that. I think transparency is really important moving forward from owners' perspective, to see quotes that are being provided, voting on those quotes. How does one win? We're looking at solving this issue for sure, but and I know that all our competition and software systems are, because it's really important that when something happens at a building or something needs to be done, that the quotes do come in. When do they come in? It's visible for everyone to see. The voting is visible for everyone to see. Quote 1 got 70%, quote 2 got 20%, quote 3 got 10%. A work order is issued to the successful candidate, and I think that the technology is getting much better when it comes to this. And again, before, they only used to be a back of house system, And I think with technology and these front of house systems, we're solving a lot of the day-to-day issues, but we're also working out how to integrate and work with the back of house systems, so things like this are a lot more clearer and more visible for all owners and maybe even tenants, that they can be visible for certain things that the owners are happy for them to look at, but sometimes no, it's only for the owners or only for the committee. So yeah, there are products sort of out there, but it is getting better and better with solving those issues, because we know that that's a big issue today.
Okay, that's great. And Laura, do you have anything to say about that system?
Yes. So how we do it at the moment is that you do have the big email trail, and we link that into monday.com under our specific item that they're discussing. So all the emails are tracked in one place. We save our quotes into an online quotes folder, and we link those quotes into a report which summarizes what's happening. So you would say, this issue has been raised, we've received these quotes, and then it would say the committee approved this quote. Then you go ahead and you get the work done, and the body corporate manager is aware that sometimes they will book in the work themselves with the contractor if it was a big quote. If it was a smaller quote, the building manager would have maybe every month a list sent to them, but by the body corporate manager that they would approve. And so they would just check that the quote matches the invoice and that the work was actually completed.
So Jake, have you got anything that you'd like to just wrap the session up with?
Yeah, I just would like to say that, that I think it's really important that we embrace technology at the moment and moving forward, and don't be, and I know that it is a little bit of a contentious issue with certain people and age demographic and all of that, but I've seen some buildings, 95-year-olds embrace technology. I've also seen some younger ones that don't, but it's about helping each other and using technology to make living in a building more efficient, and communication is really important. I think when you embrace technology, you'll have a happy building, you'll have happy management, and you'll have happy residents.
Excellent, thank you. And Laura, would you like to leave us with any final thoughts?
Yeah, definitely embrace technology. It brings transparency to the building, it makes everybody's lives easier. And just thank you for having me today. Good luck with choosing what you want to use going forwards. And thank you very much.
Excellent. Well, thank you both for joining us. It was a great session. I think it gave people lots of content to think about. If you gained value from this video, please hit like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're looking for information about parking, strata insurance, defects and more, head over to lookupstrata.com.au or sign up to our free weekly newsletter via the link in the description box below.